Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Oyster Radio. So today we need to take a good old look at some new supporter cards, which are coming around in Terastal Festival. I say supporter cards, I really mean special illustration rare supporter cards. There are some things that are worth getting extremely excited about here. And Terastal Festival, or Prismatic Evolutions as it's going to be for us, just keeps becoming a better and better set as time goes by, and I'm all in favour of this. I think this is wonderful and brilliant. I love these special sets generally. Pokemon always knock it out of the park with these. But I think this set, even more than normal, and that's saying something, is going to be just absolutely brilliant. The question is whether I really hit it hard in both English and Japanese, or whether I just mostly focus on Japanese collecting. We'll have to figure that one out later. For now, let's talk about Special Illustration Rare Kieran. And I adore this card. I absolutely adore this card. Obviously, we got kind of Kieran looking back as they're all walking away. We got the sun setting. We got a real end-of-game vibe going on here, which means that anyone that's played through the DLC for Scarlet and Violet is going to get the feels a little bit when I'm looking at this card. Like, if you've played through the Scarlet and Violet DLC, and you enjoyed it, obviously, this is just going to give you memories of playing through and finishing a DLC. And they know what they're doing with this card, and I absolutely love it. This is one of my favourite Special Illustration Rare supporters. And the only real downside here is there's starting to be too many of these. Like, I'm looking at Terastal Festival as a whole, and I'm like, well, I need to get a bunch of these Eevees, obviously. The Eevees are absurd. But I love that Dragapult. Oh, and I really like that Golden Go. Oh, but that Kieran's stunning. And it's like, there's too many cards. I am not going to be able to pick up all of these cards. I just hope some of them end up being a little bit cheap. That's my hope, ladies and gentlemen. Cross your fingers. But we got Kieran here, and look, it's not the first time we've had a Special Illustration Rare Kieran. Kieran came around in Twilight Masquerade. I actually pulled a Special Illustration Rare Kieran, I believe, in a hotel in Stockholm after somebody hand-delivered me an Elite Trainer box so that I could open it in the hotel before I went and casted the regionals last year. That was a thing. So we got Special Illustration Rare Kieran in Twilight Masquerade, and I like the one from Twilight Masquerade. I like the whole at a festival, grabbing some candy apples. It's really reminiscent of the festival you go through in the DLC, and of course it's by T-Zero, who's an artist for whom I've got a lot of love. But now we've got this new one. I mean, Kieran has gotten a pair of just absolutely stunning Special Illustration Rares, and I am here for it. And as a card, I should say there's a full art Kieran as well, which I don't think compares to either of these, but it would be rude at this point if I didn't at least mention it. And it's a really good card as well. You get to switch your active with one of your bench, or for this turn you do an extra 32 EXs and Vs. And this is one of those cards where you want it for the extra damage. You're not really ever planning on using this as a switch. This is not really supposed to be used as a switch. But if you don't have a switch, and you desperately need a switch, and you have this card, you are going to be absolutely delighted. And that's kind of the point here. You don't really want to ever use this as a switch. You want to use this for damage boosting. But sometimes you're going to be desperate for this, and you're going to get this as a switch, and it's going to absolutely save you, which is quite wonderful. Now, that's a Special Illustration Rare that we've got to have a little bit of a look at today. But we've also got to look at a couple of full art supporters as well. And this, again, is just redonkulous. Huge, huge, huge fan of this one as well. Now, let's start off with Larry, because who doesn't love Larry? I love Larry. Larry's brilliant. Larry is blatantly the best of the gym leaders in Scarlet and Violet, and I will not be taking any notes or counter arguments here. We are good. And there's a new full art version of the new Larry card that's coming around in Terastal Festival. Now, this is a card we have shown you before. The lovely Antoine Boulet has translated it as Larry's professionalism, and they're way better at Japanese than I am, so let's just go along with that. And everybody loves Larry, and now we've got a lovely full art version of Larry. Plus, I think this is a really interesting card. You discard your hand, and then you search your deck for one Pokemon, one supporter, and one basic energy, reveal them and put them into your hand. Now, obviously, if you've got like a hand of 8 cards and a bunch of stuff you need for the future, no, don't play this card. That's a terrible, terrible idea. If, however, you've got 1 or 2 cards in hand, or maybe even none, and you don't mind discarding your hand, and then you get to search for any Pokemon, and you get to search for any supporter, and you get to search for a basic energy, and you're basically then setting yourself up for the rest of the game. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, things are looking quite a bit different. I love it. I think this is a really good card. I think this is going to see a little bit of play. And I don't know how deliberate this is, but obviously the whole joke of Larry in Scarlet and Violet is that Larry's just an ordinary everyday businessman who's kind of boring and busy and doesn't really have time for these Pokemon battles, but is a really good Pokemon battler. And we've got the regular art, which is just Larry standing in front of the Pokemon League adjusting his gloves. And then we've got the full art, which is Larry in front of the Pokemon League adjusting his gloves. They're kind of very similar artworks, except one is kind of full art and one is kind of regular. And yeah, we love it. And also, this was tweeted out on the official Pokemon Twitter over in Japan. And all of the first few comments are just saying how great Larry is and how much they love Larry. I do think there is a lot of potential in this card playability-wise. I think this is kind of like a one-of. This is an occasional. We got a lot of cards that can search for supporters nowadays. So you play this as a one-of and find it at the perfect time, and it sets you up for the next couple of turns. I think this is a very good card. And yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here. And this is going to be a card that people love. And I like this. This is very cool. But there is another new supporter card coming in here as well that's got a lovely full art. We are, of course, talking about Amarys. And this is a card I am slightly less excited about, because I don't like Amarys as much as I like Larry. But it's another card of a little bit of potential. Now, we got the full art here to go along with the regular art, obviously. And I don't know, she's holding a watch. Cool. Yay. Standing in a bit of a valley. Bit of a waterfall going on. I don't know. I don't like this card as much as I like Larry, I'm going to be honest with you. And also, presumably, Terastal Festival is going to be one secret rare per box, like every Japanese set. So, if you pull full art Amarys here, you're pulling that instead of a special illustration rare Evolution. And I feel like if I pull full art Larry's professionalism, I'll be like, well, I'd have preferred a special illustration rare, but this is still a cool card. I feel like if I pull full art Amarys here, I'm going to be a little bit sad. Sorry. In terms of playability, again, it is an interesting card. You draw 4 cards, straight draw 4, no ifs, buts, or maybes, you just draw 4 cards. However, if you then have 5 or more cards in hand at the end of your turn, you have to discard your entire hand. And I've seen some people suggesting this as a bit of a discard engine. So using this to draw extra cards, knowing that you're going to discard them all, filling up your discard pile and all of that. Not a fan. Really not a fan of this at all. However, using this as I am sure that I can get down to 4 or fewer cards in my hand. So this just becomes a straight draw 4. I kind of like it. Because we know that Pokemon won't generally let us draw 4. There's got to be a draw 4 if this happens. Or do this, and if you do, you get to draw 4. If you can have a deck, and it's going to be difficult to do, but if you can have a deck whereby you actually can make sure you're always finishing your turn with 4 or fewer cards in hand, then this just becomes a straight draw 4, at which point it's brilliant. and I think is one we should absolutely be paying a bit of attention to. I just kind of feel like this is going to be a really cheap card that I'm not a huge fan of, so I can go and pick it up as a single if I really want to. I don't want to pull this in one of my boxes. And now that I've made this video talking about the fact that I don't want to pull this in one of my boxes, you know I'm going to pull this in one of my boxes. But like I say, I've got a bunch of boxes on pre-order. I will be getting them from Japan as fast as possible. I will do an opening on this channel, and we can all watch me pull full out Amarys together, and I'll cry a little bit on camera. But for now, I want to know what you think about these. I want to know if you're as in love with this special illustration from Kieran as I am. I want to know anything you want to tell me, so let me know in the comment section. Good us, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Unknown One, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.